What's up? This is Joe from Knucklepuck.
Hey, this is AJ from the Daner Summer.
Hello, this is John Cornelius O'Callahan from the Maine, and you're listening to the Play Sound.
And you're listening to the Play Sound.
And you are listening to the Play Sound Podcast.
Play Sound Podcast.
Welcome to the Play Sound Podcast, your one-stop dweeb shop for music, games, movies, and more. Here are your spicy hosts, Joe and Chris.
Chris, how you doing, man?
I brushed my teeth, and then I'm drinking Diet Coke right now. So,
oh, good.
Just getting all the good stuff in there.
Before we hopped on, I told you I was going to show you this Kirby instrument that I got in Japan, right?
Yeah.
You haven't seen this before.
No.
So I've seen so many videos of this Kirby instrument, and I was like, what is that? And so I looked it up because I didn't know it was from Japan, but whenever I was there and it was like my last day, I was like, I haven't seen one. Where do I get this? There's this place that you can go in Japan called Bic Camera. And I got a lot of stuff at Bic Camera. Like I got some Pokemon cards that I'm going to open that are awesome, that I'm super excited about. I got some Magic the Gathering cards that are Japanese for my nephews that they were super excited about because they play Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
And then I got this Kirby Omatone, and I am so stinking excited about this thing. It is it's so dumb, and so I'm gonna play it for you. You ready?
Yeah. Hit me.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I heard a little bit there.
So that's the Kirby Omatone. It gets better. You can actually edit it to be like super low. Like.
So is it like keys, like a kind of a little mini piano setup kind of thing?
No, I know you can't see me,
right,
but I'm showing it to the people, and it's literally like this thing that it's like a Kirby ball at the end that you can like squeeze its cheeks and it opens its mouth, so it does like the wah sound, like and then it's like this electronic thing that I guess is kind of like a keyboard, but I have, especially living like with my sister here and like with my wife here, and I just will like walk around the house and play it, and after like 2 or 3 minutes they're like, will you please fucking never ever pick this thing up again? It is the worst. I love it.
It kind of sounds like a Zuzuvela is what the things from the World Cup were called way back when.
You know? Maybe.
I mean, not quite, but like I can see the annoyance being the same.
Yeah.
Level.
That being said, though, it's a lot of fun to just have around. It's a great party trick, and it like even goes really high, so I can like.
And you got this at a place called Bic Camera.
Bic Camera. Whenever we go to Japan, we will absolutely go to Bic Camera. It is like, I only went there once whenever I was there, but it's like they have so many stores that just have everything. Like there's Don Quixote, which is like all the video game stuff, all of the like cosmetics you could ever want, all of the food and snacks, and it's just like, it is just brain-breakingly full of shit. Like so much stuff. That's everywhere. Cool. And Bic Camera is like a level up from that.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I did. I just didn't see Bic Camera as being like the all-in-one for things.
I know.
That's crazy.
It's pretty dope.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive, Chris. Welcome to the Play Sound Podcast, everybody. This is our second episode of our, like, I don't know what season this is. Like, I'm gonna upload all of the old ones to Spotify, but we're on Spotify.
We're on Spotify.
Look at us.
Look at us. I even looked up. I use an app, a podcast app for iOS called Overcast. and I was
Sure.
I was even able to search us in that, and so that was kind of cool.
Oh, I know. We've had this whole thing set up where wherever we post it, and for a long time it was on SoundCloud, and it would go out to all of these other like places on SoundCloud, and like that was super cool. But I just like repurposed that. It's the same feed as it was before, except now we're being hosted by Spotify, which I'm super stoked about.
I'm super stoked about too. Quick question.
It's so much easier. It's
When does
it's awesome.
when does Spotify send us the check?
I mean, it's got to be coming any day now.
Okay, yeah,
It's got to be coming. We're gonna trend here, and this is gonna be it.
Yeah.
It's the big break.
I was just thinking, yeah, if we're being sponsored by Spotify, that'd be really
Sure.
cool if we could get in on some of that cash dollars.
We might get there. You never know.
To reuse,
We have so much to say.
to reuse a Nikki Glaser bit that she did on the I think Golden Globes monologue. We're not here to create art. We're here to create art and then hopefully create a tequila afterwards that sells so much that we don't have to create art. It's something
Love
like
that.
that. It's such a just crapshoot of retelling, but
It's the podcaster way.
it's the podcaster way. Just you come out with the podcast, you make a tequila, you sell that tequila, you stop making the podcast. It's a great
Who cares
business.
about the podcast at that point?
It's a great business.
Chris, I have certainly gotten some cool shit over the last couple of days that I think is really cool, and I want to share a little bit about that. But before we do, I want to hear about this dessert trap that you fell for.
Yeah, so as the note says, I fell for the dessert trap. And now this doesn't really, I guess, necessarily have to pertain to specifically desserts, but I think desserts would be the most common. And here's what I'm referring to. Let me paint a picture. So last Friday, right? I'm going over to a friend's place. We're gonna watch the Texas-Ohio State game, which was a hot dumpster fire.
And you live in Austin, so like this is a big thing. You are pretty close to the University of Texas where you live. You are a person of culture, and so you're a Texas fan.
I am a Texas fan by association.
But you're also a Penn State fan.
Much
because you went there.
Yeah, definitely a bigger Penn State fan because I went there. But but my number two team is definitely Texas. And Friday, after I knew that Penn State was out of it, right? They lost on Thursday night, just the previous night. I was kind of like all in on UT. I was like, if Texas can make
why not?
If Texas can win the championship, this season won't be a complete freaking waste.
Big vibes for Austin, who like big football city. People love it there. It's like ingrained in the culture of Texas.
Yeah. Hook 'em.
Yeah,
that's a thing that people say.
Hook 'em, baby.
Hook 'em, baby. And so I go over to a friend's place for the game, and at one point somebody offered brownies, and now they're just regular brownies. Not to misconstrue this in any way, they are just regular kitchen made brownies.
Absolutely.
And if you're like me, I think my mom used to bake a lot of brownies growing up, and so as
I recall they were pretty good. Thanks, Mrs. Darkangelo.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I do not make brownies myself.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
I don't spend longer than 15 and a half minutes in the kitchen.
It's the vegetarian way.
which may be enough time to make brownies. I'm not really sure, but I've never stayed in there long enough to find out. And,
who knows?
And so I don't. So anytime I get brownies, it's kind of like, oh, cool. I don't usually eat brownies a lot, but they're still really great. Love brownies. So someone offered brownies at this kind of party, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll have a brownie. And whenever someone makes something, or whenever someone has something, it's cool to call them out, and just I was genuinely grateful that someone made brownies, and so I was oh hey, so and so, you made these are really great. I did like the brownies, and I wanted to just nicely call out whoever it was that made them, and so the person was like, oh no, it wasn't me. It was and they said, I think it's this person, and I was like, oh okay, well hey, this person, thanks so much. I really like these. These are really great. These came out really well. And that's when they said they bought them at a store. And so I was like, oh, okay, well they're still really good, but that puts me in a weird place now because I'm trying to be like
Yes.
really nice about it and stuff, and
Being a good
and
person.
now I just look like an asshat because at least I feel as such because I feel like a fool for not realizing, oh, these are clearly store bought.
That, or you're being set up to be in a commercial.
Maybe, and they're just maybe they're the grocery chain or whatever. Just you wouldn't even know that these aren't. You would think that these are homemade, but they're not. You can buy them at your local store here.
Yeah.
No, but the thing that really threw me was that they were in a like plastic container, right?
Mhm.
So you go buy brownies at a store. They come in a box. Like they come in like a if they let's say they went to the local grocery store, they went to the bakery section. They get them in like a brown box. And so if you're gonna buy them in the brown
Well,
box,
do you? No, not always. You could get them in like a plastic thing. You never know.
no, but this was like a plastic glad container or glade container, however.
So they served it as if they probably had some
Exactly.
brownies beforehand.
They-
They were probably like at home the night before, and they were like, "Man, those brownies look pretty stinking good. I know we bought them for tomorrow, but like I could deal with that."
But you would still use the same container, even if you took one or two out. You would still use that
wouldn't.
same
No,
store container.
I'm passing it off. I'm passing it off as my own.
Because that's what really threw me. Because I was like, well, shoot, if they were bought from a store, why would you then put them in a container that kind of to me looks like you're trying to pass off, like you said, like you made these at home.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel like a fool, but then I felt upset that I was made to look like a fool when I was like, no, like if I went and bought brownies from a store, I would have brought them in the container that I purchased them in. Unless there was something
They played you. They played you.
I felt played. Like
They knew you had a podcast and you would talk about it. They wanted
don't get
their
me
7 seconds.
don't get me wrong. I liked the brownies, but in the moment I could feel like I almost felt, and maybe it was just me outputting it, but I just felt the awkwardness, and I was just like, "Oh, come on!" Like I was set up. I was so upset. I was just like, "Come on, man!" And so that's the dessert trap. The dessert trap, and again, it could really apply to other things, but I feel like it would probably mostly apply in dessert cases. Where
You know what I think your problem is? I think you're too trusting.
I mean,
I think you're too trusting.
I made a decision based on the facts that were in front of me. There was a plastic container that implied that they were made in a kitchen at home
The big question for me is because having lived in Austin and having lived in Texas, I know how important HEB, the Howard E. Butt store, is to Texans. And were they from HEB? Like, was this a?
I'm not sure. I did not ask because I was in too much of a hole.
At that point, you're too far gone.
I buried my grave. I was happy to have them just put me away. Just dump the dirt back over my body and just lay me to rest.
All right, there we go.
So somebody passed off. In my eyes, they passed off the dessert as if it was their own. I tried to give a compliment, and then it felt thrown back in my face. Like, no, they're just from a store, and I was just like, then why'd you bring them in a different container? Yeah, that's the bit. That's the bit. We live.
That's football, baby. Horns up.
We live and learn, and the horns are not.
It's their fault. It's their fault. They were being insincere to who they really are, and then of course Penn State lost this weekend for you. Texas lost this weekend, and the Pittsburgh Steelers lost. And we are a video. To be very clear, any folks listening for the first time here, we are a video game and music podcast for the most part, but I am a die-hard Steelers fan, and Chris is as well.
No.
And dyed in the wool, baby. Dyed in the wool. Came out, we were bundled in terrible towels out of the womb. And what a shitty football weekend. That was awful.
Yeah, this is probably one of the worst football weekends I think I've ever experienced. I'm rooting for three teams. Like three teams I feel like I have a close tie to, right? Like you said, Penn State I went to. Steelers we grew up loving, grew up a Steelers fan. Texas again, just by association, but again, like was really invested. One because Penn State was out, and then also two because they were playing Ohio State, and just honestly screw Ohio State. And so yeah, to have this go off back to back to back nights, it's really made me question whether I just even want to invest time in being a football fan of any pro or college, and any of it anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Chris, I don't think that I have seen any of my football teams win a game because I'm a Steelers fan and I am a University of Pittsburgh fan since before I went on my honeymoon in November.
That's rough.
The Pitt Panthers ended their season on like a 5 or 6 game skid, as did the Steelers. And my fucking God, that is just like...
Yeah.
You know what I think of that?
What's that? It sounded like you were bleeping what you were saying out.
Here we are. Kirby's bleeping my words now. Yeah, it's really disappointing. I don't know what's going to come of my football teams, but I sure as heck know that it doesn't do me any better to now be living in Chicago because it's not like I can turn to the Bears.
I mean, hey, we're going to get to it here in a second, but I feel like if the Steelers get rid of Tomlin, I mean, maybe he goes to Chicago. And I don't
think they do it.
I think they could do some stuff, do some good stuff in Chicago. He could do some good stuff in Chicago.
I saw some stat that any of the coaches before Tomlin, so if you look at whenever they were, dealing with Cowher and things weren't looking so good, at the very least, he was winning playoff games like every 4 years. We had, I think you and I, being, born in the early 90s, don't really remember this as something that happened in like 96 to 99 before Big Ben took over in like the early 2000s, but we were pretty stinking good. We were like a decent football team, and every 4 years we were winning playoff games, and we haven't done that since like right after you and I graduated college at this point.
Yeah, I think it's 2016.
Yeah, I think it's 2016.
We lost in the AFC Championship game. I think that's that year, but that was the year we lost, or that was the last time we got a win. I believe that was we had the big 3 Bs. We had Ben, Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah,
and we went to New England to face them in the AFC title game, and we lost to Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and from what I recall, a wide receiver named Chris Hogan, who was a nobody, and went off for like 150 yards and like multiple touchdowns against us, and it was infuriating. Just terrible.
What a time.
What
a time. It was terrible, but you know what, Chris? We're resilient.
No.
We have a podcast where we're going to talk about video games and music and Pokemon and all the things that we give a fuck about. So there we go.
That's true.
Who cares? Steelers who?
Who cares? I don't care about football anymore. I'm resigning my football fandom. I just cannot. I just thought about it. There's like a bit that comes up in TV or movies, or maybe it's just general, where it's like the character says, what if I just gave up on love? Just imagine how much time and energy I could put into other things. I could do anything. And I feel like that's how I feel about football at this point. It's just like the amount of time I invest in, the burden I feel placed upon my shoulders for some unbeknownst reason. It's just, I just gotta give that up. Like, I give it up, and I just watching Penn State lose and watching the Steelers lose and watching Texas lose. I don't know if I could do it another year, man. I just don't. Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
What's
but that's why we keep coming back, because you never know. You never know.
Also,
that's why I love fantasy football. I got second place in my league this year, and that was like pretty big hype.
I can still see myself doing fantasy. But yeah, I mean, just rooting for the Steelers. I mean, it's awful. I think I was telling people this on Friday at the party I went to watch Texas, and I was saying, yeah, you know what, like, screw it, man. Maybe I'll just get like, maybe I'll just stop watching football. I'll stop doing, stop watching these sports. I'm only gonna care about one thing, And that's
Yeah.
and at that point, and this is like after a minute or two build up. I really cut this down for the podcast, but after about a minute or two build up, I said I'm only gonna care about one thing, and somebody just yelled out "pussy," and just the entire room lost it. And it was I was gonna say baseball, but pussy is
Yeah.
probably a better thing to care about, I guess.
The problem is that we're also Pirates fans. Or I'm a Pirates fan. You're a Red Sox fan. That has not been very different over the last few years.
No.
At least I have Paul Skeens to root for.
Yeah,
My boy.
Paul Skeens. I think this is the year I get into baseball now. I'm gonna get that
Yeah.
MLB TV thing at the beginning of the year.
I bought it this year. It was worth it. I watched a lot of Pirates games.
Oh, you mean last year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
last season I bought it.
Okay.
It was not that expensive. I could watch every single Pirates game, which is great because none of them are on national TV. So it was like very much worth the money. And I'm also wearing an LA Dodgers hat tonight because I am also an LA Dodgers fan. I've decided this. I've lived in a lot of cities, Chris, and I have tried really hard. I've tried to be a fan of the Cleveland Guardians. I've tried to be a fan of the Washington Nationals for a hot minute whenever I was living in Richmond. More of a Richmond Flying Squirrels fan, but they have good craft beer. I've tried to be a Texas Rangers fan by going to a couple of games. And now that I'm in Chicago, I've gone to some games and it's fun. But like I can't be a Pirates and a Cubs fan. Really, I mean, I can be. I'm gonna root for like Shota Imanaga and whatever. Like he's fun, but so I'll like go to games because I just enjoy it. But I think that of all of the teams that I've gone to games for, I've been to 2 Dodgers games at Dodger Stadium, and like, man, they win. They spend at least 3 times as much money on their roster as the Pirates, and it feels like a just totally different game.
Yeah. Did they win it last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's all in good fun, but that's also like one of those teams you people love to hate because it's just like, yeah, they're the richest team in baseball, or they put the most money into their roster, and yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I have been to games. I literally walked through Los Angeles to get to a Dodgers game and like go and like sit behind home plate and eat a Dodger dog and watch them play the Braves in 2023.
Yeah. No,
and it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, but like
I don't care if people hate them.
Yeah, but like it's like rooting for the Yankees, but like they're in the National League. It's just like whatever. No, that's cool. I mean, I'm here for it. Like I said, just baseball, nothing but baseball this year for me, and maybe fantasy football, and maybe MLS because my MLS season pass will auto renew without me canceling it.
Sure,
that is
sure,
almost guaranteed.
We might as well get behind the. I mean, I know that Austin is not going to be very good this year. They're losing their captain. It looks very likely. They're barely bringing in anyone. Their coaching situation's messed up. But I'll root for Austin FC.
Yeah.
I went.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Chicago Fire FC game. They play at Soldier Field, where the Bears play. And
they don't always play there, do they?
They do now. Yeah,
okay.
That's their home field, and it's such a big stadium. They don't even open the top part, and it just felt empty.
Oh yeah,
nobody, and it was like not a huge game. I think they were playing like Louisville, maybe St. Louis. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, and it was fun. Like I got food and I had a couple beers and I watched it with my wife and my in-laws. But it's not Austin FC. It's not anywhere even remotely close.
Yeah. It's Austin's I think the only
special man.
It's special. It's Austin FC I think is the only professional sports team that Austin has. I mean we've got Texas, football, basketball, volleyball and stuff, but yeah, so like a lot of people have really kind of drawn in or kind of pulled in for Austin FC, and it's a really the new stadium where they play is really cool. It's the kind of supporter section that they have is kind of a really fun place to watch a game. Everyone's always hooting and hollering.
It's fire, man.
It's fire.
It's so good.
Even the last game of the year, I think I had friends telling me that it was a really good time because I guess we were down and then we were up and then it was tied and then we went up at the end and and people were still into
Love it.
But
so I wanted. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, can we go back to the Steelers for a quick second?
Let's do it.
Do you think we should? I've been kind of on the Fire Tomlin train for the last several years now. Do you think it's finally time to fire Tomlin? Like, not whether or not will they or won't they, but do you think, as a Steelers fan, they should fire Tomlin? He won him a Super Bowl, went to another one.
Yeah.
But at this point, he's lost.
Sure.
He hasn't had a losing season in so many years, probably at least 10. But he's also lost 6 straight playoff games over the course of the last 8 years.
Thoughts. I got thoughts.
Okay.
If you look at most of these other sports leagues, they are built off of which team is bringing in the most money and how much money can they spend. How much can they spend in the NBA on the best player in the league? Who's going to offer them the most and restructure their contracts to make it work and then pay the extra tax that they have to pay if they're over the salary cap limit? Same with the MLB, but like to a way bigger extent. Like, you have people like Mookie Betts signing the biggest deal in the world with the Mets and moving literally across town because he is just so stinking, like, it's crazy. Yeah. Mookie Betts, whatever, bad example, but like Shohei Ohtani goes to a team and all of a sudden they're like the best in the world and they can pay him just gratuitous amounts of money.
For sure.
That's not how football works. Football is this weird, like, in between where you can't spend more money than the other teams. You have to deal with the people you draft and deal with who you get. And the only way that you get better, like the best of the best, is either by getting someone in the draft late that's a sleeper pick, or being one of the worst teams in the league and doing that for a couple years in a row so that you can build up a really, really good team like the Lions have done. There are obviously exceptions to that if you look at what the Patriots could do with someone like Tom Brady. But then again, Tom Brady was a late round draft pick. They got really lucky.
The Patriots, I think, to have a contender of a team, you have to have the head coach and you have to have the quarterback. Bill Simmons was saying this on a podcast I was listening to earlier. And so for the Patriots, as an example, they had Belichick and they had Brady. All of those years, they had those two, and they could build a team around those guys.
And it's the same thing right now with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Sure. Absolutely.
And it's what's so frustrating for me is that, I mean, another good example is Sean McDermott and Josh Allen right now with the Bills. Like, they have been consistently good with that combination. Mm-hmm. And I think that because you can't just go out and spend a lot of money, it's not like there are a lot of people who are really, really good at playing quarterback. And it's not like there are a lot of people who are really, really good at coaching. Like, you have to strike lightning in a bottle. And if you are in a situation like Pittsburgh where you're not drafting, I feel like it's really, really hard to do any of that. Like, if you're just trying to like pull people from other teams or like trying to, we got Kenny Pickett. Kenny's my boy, but he was like not the answer. And same thing with like Russ was really good, but he's old. He regressed because he wasn't old, because he couldn't like keep up. Couldn't keep throwing the deep ball.
I mean, he had some good deep ball throws against the Ravens. And he had a number of them this year.
Sure.
I think Troy Aikman pointed out, I think maybe the last game of the season for the Steelers, it looked like against the Bengals, it was either the Steelers have either the check down or the deep ball. And if you take away both of those things in their passing game, they're not going to throw anyone mid-range. They're not throwing to people on out routes, to get out of bounds and conserve clock or, situational football. They have the deep ball and they have the check down. And it's just very, just one side.
But that's all you can do whenever you have like your only two receivers are a pretty good tight end who's also incredibly short in Pat Fryermuth, or Pickens, who it's like hot or cold, and whenever he's good, he's good. Whenever he's bad, he's complaining about it. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
should the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because
okay, no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
they are one good wide receiver away from being able to have a competent offense that keeps their defense off the field.
Nope.
And they tried to bring in people all year through the trade deadline, through everything. We got Mike Williams, and he was fine. He didn't do anything that we needed him to do. He was kind of washed. And I think our problem is that, like, we need to get someone who's going to be, like, I don't know, Tyreek Hill. He doesn't want to be on the Dolphins anymore. Bring him in. Pay him. Give me Hill and Pickens. And then all of a sudden, who cares you about it? Like, if you have Calvin Austin after that, then it's great. Whatever.
I think the coach. I think this is more a case of not us not having the players. I think it's us not having the right coaching staff to have a competent and like new kind of offense that a lot of these teams are kind of doing, right? Like we're still trying to run the ball with Najee Harris and get 2 yards a carry. We're still, like we don't know. I'm not really sure what we're doing in the passing game, but I think Russell Wilson is capable of more than what he showed in the last handful of games for the Steelers. I think whenever they had Justin Fields playing, he was doing a lot of checkdowns, a lot of game management, don't turn the ball over. I don't think that was necessarily his fault. I think that's probably what they wanted him to do. And we were 4-2. Like it wasn't that bad. But I think it really does come down to the coaching staff, and Mike Tomlin's supposed to be kind of a more of a defensive minded guy, right? I think he was the defensive coordinator at Minnesota before he came over to the Steelers. But the last maybe 2 or 3 coordinators that he's brought on, offensive coordinators, just I think it's kind of on him as a head coach, and then also on the offensive coordinators that he's brought on, just not being able to evolve and adapt, offenses like the way some of the better teams in the league have been doing. And yeah, I even if the Steelers fire Tomlin and they maybe worst case scenario they hire someone like Mike McCarthy and they just bottom out. They just go like 4-13, I guess would be 17 games. I want to see them just bottom out at this point. Just let's get maybe a good draft pick or two, for a couple of years. I mean, I just cannot stand to watch.
It takes so long to build it back up, though. Like, that's the thing. You see some of these teams that have been in the pits for years and years, and maybe it's a fresh mindset. Maybe it's something that it like actually takes someone who has like a perspective that's different. But I would rather they bring someone in and like keep a really good team culture than go out and get someone like Mike McCarthy, who I think is like kind of a shitty head coach.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy's terrible example. He is kind of a shitty head coach, and that's kind of why I picked him to bottom out in my hypothetical.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Mike Tomlin's had his chance multiple times, and he's lost 6 straight playoff games now. And it's just like, all right, like so, and we haven't just lost these games. Like we've
gotten blown out.
We've gotten blown out. Like it was we lost to the Ravens this year. The Ravens on Saturday, I think there was a drive where they ran the ball 15 straight times for a score, and it's just like, what are we like? What are we doing? Maybe
I do think that having someone like a Derrick Henry is unfair whenever you already have Lamar Jackson. Like, I think that is a Super Bowl team that just based off of those two people alone.
That's fair. I mean, but even still, I mean, we didn't have a chance in that game. And then last year we got blown out by Buffalo.
And then the Browns before that.
And then the Jaguars. Like, I mean, these are not like.
And we had the Chiefs in between there, but yeah.
And the Chiefs, I think that was Ben's last year. I just am ready. I mean, I've been on the Fire Tomlin train for several years now, but like, I think maybe this year is like the year that, as like Steeler fans, it's like, all right, like we got to get someone else in here, somebody to shake things up, and because I can't watch the same team year in and year out, and I don't know. I've gone on length about this multiple times over the last several years, but the same thing keeps happening, and that's just like we got to change something. To say Russell doesn't have it anymore, I think he's still got maybe a good year left in him. He still can make throws. I don't know. I just think it's maybe a matter of coaching. But anyways, but with that being said too, I also don't want to pay Russell, and I think we should probably just start Fields next year.
I think you're probably right.
That's a whole different discussion. What should the Steelers do with their quarterback situation?
We have plenty of time to talk about it because we're going to be doing this on at least a bi-weekly basis. But here we are, 2 weeks in a row. Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Who would have thought?
Chris, I want to do a little exercise with you that I think is going to be really fun. That we made up on the podcast last week, and I think is going to be incredibly joyful.
All right.
You ready for it?
I'm ready.
We're making up swear words, baby. Come on. Let's go. So I have done a little combination of creating some words and also asking a little AI bot to create them for us. And so here's what I want to do. I want to bring up these fake words, and you and I are going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 about how offensive they could be.
Okay.
And then we're going to try to figure out what they mean.
All right.
Okay?
Yep. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you in for it? Okay. All right, we're going to start on the first word. Blorkin.
Blurkin.
Tell me what you think Blorkin is offensive on a scale of 1 through 10.
Blurkin it's not super offensive. It's just it's just an alien race.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an alien race. I'm thinking kind of a blue Martian with kind of a mohawk. But that's all a Blurkin is.
Okay, that's a Blorkin.
Mm-hmm.
Scale of 1 through 10. Where would you rate that? As far as
I'm gonna say 2.
okay.
I don't know too much about Blurkins, but they seem, unless they're kind of dickheads, in which case maybe it is kind of an offensive term. I think they're probably pretty cool.
Yeah, so I fully disagree with you. I think that a Blorkin is a thing that you say whenever you have stubbed your toe really hard on something, but you don't know what you've stubbed your toe on, or you've run into a wall and you're just like, where did that come from? And I think you're just like, Blorkin. And I think it's something that you say whenever you're angry with yourself, and I think it's a 4 out of 10. I think it's a self-detrimental thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can see it. That works.
Let's go with Glumpit.
Glumpit.
Glumpet. Glumpet.
Oh, it's PET.
PET.
Oh, okay, that changes it.
So Glumpet. Sure.
Do you want to start this one?
Yeah, I think a Glumpet is whenever you have an animal that you want to bring into your house, but it ends up being a little bit of a lemon, and it actually doesn't it's not the pet you thought it was. So whenever you adopt puppy, but it ends up turning into a wolf, or whenever you get a cat, but it's actually a cheetah that was abandoned from a place where you're just oh man, this is not my pet. This isn't what I signed up for. And so it's whenever your expectations are broken, that's Glumpit.
Glumpit. All right.
Glumpit.
I dig it. For me, what is a Glumpit? Yeah, it's kind of like a disarranged garnishment. On a dish. It's
okay.
It's
all right.
It's whenever you expect, that kind of the garnishment on the dish is going to be very neatly neatly crafted, very well done. A Glumpit is not that. It's someone...
Sure, it's whenever you want guacamole on your Chipotle, except it's only in one little corner.
Yeah. It
That's a Glumpit.
Yep, that's exactly it. It's just not well done. It could be either kind of overdone or kind of underdone to an extent, but it's just poor. It's just not good.
But it only means something to people who work at Chipotle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like going in and telling them that their shit stinks.
What do you want me to do with this glump bit, huh?
Okay. All right, we got another one here that I think is I mean, are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
This is a big one.
Okay.
Ploop bag. A ploop bag.
Ploop bag.
Ploop bag.
Okay.
What do you think that means? And then give me the rating. How offensive is it? How bad is it on the swear word scale?
A ploop bag is basically, it's whenever you go to Walmart or any store really where you're going to be buying things and you're going to be putting them in a bag, and you're walking out, you've bagged up your items, you're walking out of the store.
There's something wet at the bottom.
No, oh, it could be. I was just gonna say there's multiple holes in the bag.
Yeah,
and so it's a ploop bag. Your shit's all falling out. Maybe the bag just rips because it was just broken to begin with. But that to me is a ploop bag. It's just,
you found like an eraser, like a super rare like eraser that you really like inside of Walmart, and you walk out and it like falls out of the hole in the bottom of the bag. So like, ploop bag.
Yeah. Yep. It's very offensive. I give it a
ploop bag. It's like, what do you think?
It's a 6 or a 7. Like this shit.
I think 7.
This shit is day ruining. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go on to the next one, which I think is fun. Scarn hole. What's a scarn hole? How I think if you're calling someone a scarn hole, it's like a super Nordic way to tell them that you hate them.
Yeah, I like that. If you're calling someone a scarn hole, these are just careless people. I mean,
I think it's 6.5.
Yeah, just careless people. These are the people who are just leaving there, and again, just staying within the kind of grocery store, just department store spectrum. These are people who are leaving their carts out just at their cars. They're not bringing them to the cart corrals or back to the store. Those are a bunch of scarn holes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that like a scarn hole is certainly someone who like is the bottom of the barrel. I think that they're worse than the worst.
They're the people that you go out to eat, like to a fast food place, and they get their order, and they're the first ones, even though they just ordered, and there are people who are still waiting for their orders. They're the people who are standing in front of the pickup line, like at the pickup counter, like right there, even though they're not going to be called first, and like it's going to be someone else, and they're going to have to move out of the way, but they're still standing there anyways, right there. That's another example of a scarn hole. These people suck.
Okay.
8 or 9.
8 or 9. Cool. I love it.
They bring society down.
Bring society down. Zucklick. I think a Zucklick is a 10. I think if someone's a Zucklick, they are just a big old carpetbagger. They suck up to whoever's in office and decide that they want to get rid of their community notes and not do any of their like research on what's real and what's not. I think that's a Zucklick.
Okay, so wait,
what do you think?
Yeah, Zucklicks are awful. I mean, they're people in the office who will use the last of the coffee in the coffee pot and not refill it. Just awful.
Probably don't wear shoes in the office.
That's a good one. They're just barefooting it, just around everywhere.
And they want everyone to notice.
Yeah. That's the best.
It's a 9.5. It's a 9.5. It's a
9.5. Just these people should be feared and identified and then reported.
Yep. We're gonna do 2 more if that's cool with you, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
All right. What's a chuzzle pouch?
Chuzzle pouch.
Chuzzle pouch.
First thought is just a big old bag of alcohol that it's just a pouch that you carry in your back pocket. It's like a flask,
Yeah.
but it's a pouch, and so it kind of makes your butt stick out more than it should.
Fits a big old bag of Franzia.
It's a big old bag of Franzia, and it's just
Just right in the back pocket.
right in the back pocket. That's what it is.
I think it's also a term of endearment.
Yeah, I can.
It's
see
like,
that.
oh, that's impressive. Dude's a chuzzle pouch, but he can hang.
Yeah, I like it. That makes
All right,
sense.
what do you think? Like 3 or 4 out of 10?
Yeah, 3.
3 out of 10? Okay. All right.
People can still exist and be productive in society and be a chuzzle pouch.
Cool. All right, we're gonna do one more, and I think this is an important one. A blarf bog.
A blarf bog, like
Blarf
BOG
bog.
at the end.
BLARFBOG. Blarf bog.
Blarf bog.
Uh-huh.
Oh god.
I think it's a person with a big old froggy mouth.
Big old froggy
Big
mouth.
frog.
Big frog. What's
Yeah.
a big
Live
frog?
down in the bog. Blarf bog.
So what are frog mouths? Like, is this, are we
Big tongue.
big? Oh, okay, big tongue.
Big tongue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see someone out
And talk with their cheeks a lot. Just like every time they talk, it's just like blowing up their cheeks and
and
like
their
they
tongue
spit a
flies
little bit.
out. Oh yeah, spit.
Blarf bog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, just the spit would be the worst of it, I think.
Yeah.
You're talking to this person and they can fire spit at you from up to 20 feet away. That's something you gotta watch out for. That's
Yeah.
at least a 6 or 7.
At least a 6 or 7.
Burp.
All right, thank you, Kirby. Chris, so I want to talk about just like some general other video game stuff, because there has been some news this week that I think is really interesting. One thing that came out is that there is this game that has been like published for, it's like, they're calling it the PlayStation Animal Crossing. And it's like an anime life sim, but it looks like it was generated by AI. And it was like put on the PlayStation Store for release in February of 2026.
Ooh.
A whole year and a month from now.
Whole stinking year. Is it still there? Can I still look it up?
It's still there.
Oh,
It's still
okay.
there. Anime Life Sim is the name of it, and it looks exactly like Animal Crossing if Animal Crossing had no personality. And so I just think it's so interesting that we're in like this age now where anyone can go and like make something like that is like so derivative of the source material, and kind of similar to what you and I have not really talked about Pal World on the podcast because we were taking a little bit of a break whenever that came out. And just like the way that people can use these like kind of shitty tools that pull from the work of other people to create art. I think it's a part of a larger conversation, but I'm curious to hear what you think whenever you see something that's like a game that is literally, I mean, it looks like an Animal Crossing clone. If you look up this game and you see the news stories from the last couple of days, it is originally reported by Nintendo Life. They're the ones who saw it.
What's it called?
But there's
Life Sim?
Yeah. Anime Life Sim. And it looks exactly like Animal Crossing's new. I mean,
Oh,
are
shit,
you seeing this?
you. Yeah.
I mean, it's to a T.
I'm just seeing one picture of a character, but like, yeah, it looks like Animal Crossing.
Yeah. And what's so disappointing to me is that like I want AI to be in our lives so that it can do the hard shit and give us the opportunity to do things like music and art. Like I want it to take all of the work and pay me because I'm letting it do the work and then let me make art. And I feel like it's doing the opposite. It's doing all the shit where it's making like art and words, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Words. Yeah, no, this sucks. Yeah, I feel like that's like it's like a lawsuit waiting to happen though, right? Probably.
I know. I would think.
You would think. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean it kind of sucks. And I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it's kind of cool maybe that people can like creating stuff is easier, but on the other hand, if you're just gonna go and rip off something, yeah, I mean that sucks. That's shitty. You shouldn't do that. Yeah, I don't know. I generally don't favor AI, but just in anything, I think it's just gonna bring about the downfall of civilization. But that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different.
That's a whole different thing. Well, Chris, I know just as far as our podcast goes, we've been doing this for some time today. I want to get to some recommendations because I think that we're gonna have a lot to talk about if they announce the Switch 2 over the coming week. I think there's likely going to be a lot of news about like football, maybe some tours that are announced that we're excited about. What do you say we get into some recommendations?
Well, don't we want to talk about the Switch though?
Do we want to talk about the Switch?
I mean,
I don't know.
I think it just takes like a couple minutes.
All right, let's talk about the Switch. Let's talk about the Switch. I saw that well, obviously there's been a lot of leaks, even over the last week since we last podcasted. But I saw that the person who leaked this rumor that there was going to be some announcement this week was full of it. He actually totally had no idea what he was talking about.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if there's any like real whatever to this, but I mean, it is such a fever pitch right now. Everyone knows what this thing looks like.
Yeah.
They know some games. I don't know, man. I think at this point, like, what's stopping them?
I thought it was interesting the leak. So the leak is that Nintendo's gonna do a hardware announcement for the Switch 2 on Thursday, 1/16.
Yeah.
But the fact that they would just do a hardware announcement is interesting.
Probably not. No way. No way.
That
They've
they
never done that.
would just do a hardware announcement and not like also include software, like your games.
Think about the Wii. I mean, the whole purpose is the games. Nintendo is not a hardware company. Like, why announce hardware whenever you know it's going to not be as good as like even a Steam Deck? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Announce games with it to build hype. Otherwise, people are going to spend the next 2 months talking about how like trash your specs are.
No,
and that is like not Nintendo.
And that makes sense. That makes so much sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But yeah, I mean, the Switch 2 hardware specs are not going to be like, from my perspective, I was like, or from my point of view, I was like, oh yeah, like that'll be interesting to see like how powerful this thing's really going to be. Because some of the games that people are pitching on social media and stuff that the Switch 2 is going to be able to run is, I think kind of skeptical, or I'm skeptical. Like, someone said, oh yeah, well the Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is going to launch on the Switch 2, and I'm like, I don't think the Switch 2 is going to be powerful enough to run the Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth that came out last year. I just don't.
Yeah.
Like that's a PS5 only game, and I don't.
I've heard.
Don't think this.
It's going to be.
It's going to be as powerful as a PS5.
It might be a little bit more powerful than a PS5 Pro or PS4 Pro. PS4 Pro. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that even then, why if Final Fantasy Rebirth is coming to PC and there's all of these other games out there, like focus on the games that Nintendo's making.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that are going to sell a console. And not like you and I last week were just talking about like the Asus portable PC. Just with CES last week, there were a ton of announcements about all of these new PCs. One that has like an even 13-inch screen. It's like stinking huge. And I just don't understand why, like, there's no reason to just announce the hardware whenever you can announce games that are going to get people hyped.
Yeah. No, you make a really good point. Just again, the Switch 2 is not going to be about the hardware, and to come out and even just to like almost stop the bleeding at this point, as to, I mean, at this point, I think pretty much everything is out, aside, from like a outside perspective. Like there's lots of images. You can literally Google the Switch 2 and you can see what it looks like. But we still don't know what's under the hood of it. But again, that's, like you said, that's not what Nintendo's primary focus with this thing is going to be. And why would they do a single conference to showcase that? That's a good point. I thought I opened up my phone earlier today, and when I woke up, and that was a lot of what I saw was just Nintendo's doing it. It's 116, and I think if they announced, they would have had to have either announced that they were going to do it on Thursday, either today, Monday, or tomorrow, Tuesday. They have to at least give a day or two, kind of.
No, do they? At this point, like, why?
No, you have to, like, build the anticipation, I think, for it. They're not gonna. I don't think they're just gonna.
I don't know if they do. I think they will. I think they announce it on Wednesday that it's happening Thursday. I think it'll be like Wednesday morning. We're gonna be like, what's going on? We're gonna get an announcement, and then maybe something this week. Even then, I stand by what I said last week, that I think this is going to be announced next week. They have Donkey Kong Country Returns coming out this week. That's their focus. They're putting all of their marketing dollars towards that. They want to maximize this like last big release on the Switch, and then maybe announce a Kirby game. Honestly, like they've been talking about a Kirby Planet Robobot remaster, and why not? That's like one of the best games on the 3DS. No one ever played it. Bring it to the Switch. Let people play it on the Switch too. I will buy that in a heartbeat. It's the best Kirby game ever made. So like that, to me, it just seems like people building on the hype of something like CES, where they're saying like, hey, Nintendo needs to do something. They don't have to do anything. I think that they announce it at the end of this month. I think that it comes out in like late April, early May. And they're going to have a bunch of stuff. I do believe the rumors that they've been producing the console for at least a month. Like they've been in factories making this thing, like it's going to be ready to go. But what I don't believe is that they're going to just like show us what technology's inside of it. Everyone's going to see it's 5-year-old shit, and then no one's going to buy it.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, this is kind of what we knew it was going to be, huh?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That's fair. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get it, but I am here for all the hype and for to see, just out of curiosity, at the very least, to see how powerful the thing is, and then also kind of what games are going to be announced with it at launch.
Yeah. I saw another rumor about the they said Super Mario Galaxy 2, and in my head I was like, that happened like 10 years ago. But a new Super Mario Galaxy game. But that doesn't seem right to me. I think if anything, they would make like an Odyssey 2, where they like build on what they did and like do a showcase of what's happening. I think that's a much easier thing than making like a threequel to something.
Sure, I agree.
So I could totally see that happening. At the same time, we talked about so many games last week from Pokemon Legends, which is now being rumored for August. Like, oh my god, that being an August thing after it's been done for over a year would just be mind-blowing to me. But I guess we'll see. And we're due for a Fire Emblem, I think. I think that like there's probably going to be a Fire Emblem game. It's probably going to happen. They're easy. They're not super intense to make. Like, why not?
Yeah. I mean, hey, if they give me like a sequel like game to Three Houses, I'll go all in on that shit. I love Three Houses. Yeah. I thought that was so good.
They probably realized after Engage that that's what people wanted to, because Engage was fine, but it wasn't like the flash in the pan that Three Houses was, or even like the character development of Awakening. Engage felt kind of rushed out of the house. Awakening was so good. One of my favorite games of all time.
Sure, it's very good.
Any other thoughts on the Switch?
Two. No, that basically just covered. I just wanted to. I'm like, I woke up this morning and was excited that there might be, or it was rumored that there's gonna be something happening on Thursday, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So
We'll see, man. Who knows? Who knows? Let's hop into recommendations. Let's talk about what we like and what we don't, and everything about what we think people should be paying attention to.
All right. Should I go first?
Hit it.
All right. So Chris's Rex, Severance, the TV show on Apple TV Plus, which has been dormant since its season 1 end for I think almost 3 years now, is almost back. I think the premiere is next. Oh no, it's I think this week on the 17th, January 17th. So it's a really cool show it's like a really dark and funny show with a really interesting premise of kind of the people who work at this company. I don't know. Are you familiar with Severance at all?
I have not watched Severance. No.
Okay. I mean, I think the premise of the show is it centers around this group of characters that when they go to work, and once they go through the doors of the company they work at, they don't remember anything that happens on the outside or like on the outside of the company. They are just like them works. They are just their work selves. And then when they leave at the end of the day, they don't remember anything that happened in the building. So that's kind of like the overarching premise of the show. It's a really dark and funny show. And and it's season 2 is going to start airing on Friday. So that's really excited for that.
Amazing.
Shrinking 2, another Apple TV show. I think it ended last month. The season, anyways, was really great. 100% awesome. If you like Ted Lasso, it's basically the guy who did season 1 of Ted Lasso, who is the main creator. Also, this is he went and moved to do Shrinking, so it's very like.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very like feel good. It's got Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother. It's got Harrison Ford playing a guy who hates everything, and
surprise,
and a bunch of other like just really likable characters. And again, it's just a really good feel good comedy. So if you haven't, the first 2 seasons are out, so I highly recommend them both. I have Comedy Bang Bang on here, the podcast. I have never really been into podcasts, but since I've been fostering a dog, I've started going or listening to more podcasts. I put my earbuds in and I need something to listen to when I'm outside. So I finally went in and I bought like the $5 monthly pass for the Comedy Bang Bang like archives, which has like, I mean, there's like I think almost 1,000 episodes, if not more. Like there are so many episodes, and so I've downloaded like 20 that were like considered maybe some of the best, and then I will probably just start listening through them after that. But yeah, just
amazing,
really funny. I listened to the first episode the other day. I was like, I'm sold. This is really cool. And last but not least, Amoeba Records in California does a series on YouTube called "What's in My Bag."
Oh, you watched the Bill Hader one?
I watched the Bill Hader one where they have actors
so good,
or actresses or people in bands come through and they show what they pick out at Amoeba Records. Bill Hader's is really great just because not only are his music choices great, he picked up a De La Soul record that I had never heard of, and I was listening to a little bit earlier. That was really cool. I think it's called like 3 Feet Rising, maybe. And then he also some like a couple of Bad Brains albums, which I think is like an older punk band.
I love Bad Brains. Have you spent a lot of time with Bad Brains?
No, I've listened to like an album, maybe a live album, I think, but yeah, not a whole lot of time. But I get it. Like they're like an old school punk band.
They're self-titled from 1982. I think would be right up your alley, and I think it's well worth listening to.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. He has a number of really great recs on there, but just the fact that he opens up the video, he's like, "Hey, my name's Bill Hader, and I'm here at Amoeba Records for What's in My Bag because I literally asked to be on it." And it's just like
Yeah.
it's just so
Yeah.
funny that he like went out of his way to be like, "Hey, I really want to do this. Can I?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Like you're Bill Hader. Like absolutely."
Yeah.
But anyways, that is the. Oh, I'm pretty much out of breath. That is the last of my recommendations.
I love it. Amazing. You know, I was gonna recommend the TV show The Penguin because I've been watching it and I'm like 2 episodes in at this point. I'm way behind. I think it's good.
Oh, nice.
I've never watched The Batman.
What?
Don't know what that's all about.
Oh, like the new one with Pattinson, right?
Haven't watched that.
Okay.
But Colin Farrell in The Penguin is really good, and we've been watching it slowly. It's a slow burn. So like eventually I might be able to actually recommend that. But for today, I'm going to recommend a couple other things. One of them, Saturday Night Live is coming up on its 50th anniversary. So I've been getting super nostalgic lately. I've been watching some old episodes. They're actually coming out with a documentary about the episode that had like the I got a fever and the only prescription is more cowbell. And so I'm going to watch that because I think it's awesome. And I'm super excited about that potentially happening and like them maybe even redoing that. So that'll be super fun. Like, I don't know if they're going to have Will Ferrell come back. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if Christopher Walken's going to be on that episode, but I think it would be super cool. And that's coming up soon. So Saturday Night Live, I watch it like every week anyway, for the most part. And it's been pretty good this season. I also have been doing a lot of reviews, watching a lot of reviews on portable emulation consoles. And
okay.
I have a Steam Deck, and it's great. I know I can play pretty much anything that I want to play on that. Like if I wanted to put old games on there, I totally could. But I've wanted something that's like smaller, that fits the form factor of the old handhelds that we would play as kids.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this company called Anbernic that puts out these like cheap $50 or $60 handhelds that you can put an SD card into and will play whatever game you want to play, going the whole way back to like the Atari up to the PSP. Okay. And I've wanted one for a long time, but I've been like kind of weary of ordering one. They seem weird. I don't want to pay too much on Amazon, so I just ordered one off of the TikTok shop. And I got one that looks like a Game Boy Advance SP.
Okay. Wait, there's like a TikTok shop?
There is a shop on TikTok. Actually, I'm holding up some Pokemon cards that I just got on there. I bought a decent amount of Pokemon cards. I have some Terrestrial Festival, which is like essentially the new Pokemon set. There's Prismatic Evolutions that's coming out later this week in the United States, but Terrestrial Festival came out in Japan last month. And I got some off of TikTok shop for like a reasonable price. So I also got this handheld, and I'm super excited to try it. I'm excited to put some Super Nintendo games, some Game Boy Advance games, some N64 and PSP games work on it.
What's the game that you're most excited for? What's maybe a game or two that you have like in your head? You're like, as soon as I get this thing, I'm gonna put that on there.
I think some of the old Pokemon games, probably. Okay. I still have most of them, but like there are versions I have. Like I have Leaf Green. I would love to play Fire Red, and I was always someone who played Sapphire, and I never had. I had Emerald, but I didn't have Ruby. And so being able to play games like that, but even more than that, being able to play ROM hacks of different games, like being able to go in and like, if I want to play a game that's been like made to be a lot like Diamond and Pearl, where I can like very easily play it and switch between the screens on one screen just by pressing the L button on one of these consoles.
Okay.
and playing a hack of that, like that sounds really fun to me. Or playing like Pokemon Trading Card Game 2 that only came out in Japan and has an English translation that was finally finished a few years ago. Those things sound really fun to me, but just generally being able to go in and like play some of these old Nintendo games that I have but are made for a Game Boy, and I don't really have anything that's the size of a Game Boy anymore. And just being able to throw this thing in my backpack and pull it out and play any of like 1,000 games sounds so fun to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's one of my recommendations. We'll see how it goes whenever I get it. I'll give the full review. And then 2 more. One is Boys Like Girls Sundays at Foxwoods, because I stinking love this band. I went to see them when we were young. They were not on the bill initially, but they joined the bill. Who dropped off? I don't know why
All
I'm
American
forgetting this.
Rejects.
All American Rejects dropped off, and
believe
like
this.
these bands have beef now.
Yeah.
But Sunday at Foxwoods by Boys Like Girls is amazing. The Outside is one of my favorite songs they've ever released. Blood and Sugar is so good. And Story of a Lifetime sounds like something they could have released like 15 years ago. So
Oh, I love that song. I know that song. Yeah. That's
so
pretty
good.
Mhm.
I'm so excited about this band being back, and I'm hoping that there's like a big tour that they announced that I can go see. And then this past weekend, my wife and I also saw Knucklepuck doing 10 years of Copacetic. We got there late. We only saw 2 songs from Copacetic, but we saw like a bunch of other ones, including my personal favorite, Gone. And that band is so good. They are so like this was a show where there was so much energy, and it was a hometown show for them. They sold out this big venue called the Salt Shed, and just a bunch of emos. Man. Go to emo shows. Pop punk emo revival, like get in it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I looked at I'm not familiar with the venue, but I saw a video that you posted, and it was definitely a way bigger venue than like I imagined them playing whenever you said you were going to see them. Which like makes sense. I forgot that was like a hometown show for them. But it was
I mean, this is
really
the same
cool.
place I've seen Suki Waterhouse, that I've seen Sad Summerfest, and to see a band like Knucklepuck headlining that is just like mind blowing. So anyway, that's my recommendations. Chris, this has been great.
Woo woo.
I'm excited to keep doing this. We're obviously going to post the video podcast. We are on Spotify and wherever you can find podcasts. Any parting words? Otherwise, where can we find you?
Parting words.
You wouldn't download a car.
Don't let Mike Tomlin coach your football team.
Amazing. All right, you can find me on the internet at Most Likely Joe or Best Plot, depending. I don't know, either or my band Weird Heist, on like everything, but lately mostly on Blue Sky. Chris, where are you?
I am CJ Darkangelo. Most places as well. Yeah, and also don't spit on your things. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I think I just spit everywhere. I got
Cool.
I got a little excited, and I spit everywhere.
Don't we all? You've been listening to the Play Sound Podcast. Thank you, and we will see you soon.
Thank you and good night. Well, we'll see you.
You have been listening to the Play Sound Podcast. Goodbye.